Good afternoon. I'm Nuno. I'm here to talk about local matters, design driven by urban conditions. We all like to discover new cities and are attracted by their special character. We treasure what is unique from that place and get interested about their local idiosyncrasies. So let's look into what are local matters. Local, starting from the word, is characterized by relating to position in space, having a definitive spatial form or location. Can be also a local person or thing. If we talk about matter, it's a situation or subject that is being dealt with or considered, a substance or things of a particular type, to be important to affect what happens. So local matter is something that relates to a place. It can be a condition, it can be an object, but it's something that relates and that is important for that specific location. So why does local matter? It matters because we are part of cities and cities are part of us. Cities are these very complex entities that are a collective endeavor. They are shaped by citizens and they shape their citizens in a constant dynamic process. So how can we participate in a constructive way in this process? I think that the answer would be that one can start by caring about the city and taking the time to learn from that city and to engage with it. So I invite you for a journey through Macau, looking to our local conditions and local materials, to share how I deal with that on my work as an architect at Urban Practice in Macau. So at Urban Practice, we take each project as a possibility to learn from the local conditions and as a possibility to contribute with an innovative project that reflects this place and that is a contribution for this place. So let's start with the first project. The first project is called MACAU Morphologies. So this was the first participation of Macau on an international architecture biennale, and we had to think about something that was really relevant to share about Macau. So we start with this local condition of continuity, and we picked up the urban fabric. If we look into Macau, Macau is a very dense, it's a very complex urban fabric, but it's one that has continuity over time and over space. So we can go from north to south and really walk through this entire city in one go. So our fabric is very rich, is very diverse, but each part is connected to the next part. So we started with these concepts of continuity. We picked up the Macau map and we started to fold this Macau map into a pavilion. And this is the pavilion called MACAU Morphologies, Shapes, Figures, and Conditions on the Densest City. So we try to create an immersion on our urban fabric. People going inside, they would see the conditions mapped on the wall. They would see a beautiful sound installation with soundscapes by Álvaro Barbosa showing the sounds of different spaces in Macau. They would also see artworks relating to Macau produced by a series of artists created by James Xu. So this was the first time, so we tried to really share the urban fabric of Macau as something that is quite unique and quite interesting in the international scenario. The second project is also an international exhibition, this time in the Architecture Biennale, and it's called the Added Layer. So in this case, we started with an even more specific condition of Macau, which is customization, and we picked up the window cages. So if you go through Macau, you'll be able to see many facades covered by window cages. So people change their building by adapting the facade to suit their needs. So this is something that it's spread all over the city. So this is the window cage. They have more than 20 different functions. They serve for air circulation, for storage. So they are a customization of the individual space. So we started by learning from this. So we picked up many existing buildings, and in red we started to map the areas of individual appropriation. So each red thing that you're seeing is the shape, the exact shape of a cage, and it maps the space that people transform themselves. So picking up on that idea, we developed an innovative prototype. That would be a building that would be a framework, and then each person, its own architect, would develop one individual unit according to their needs, according to their lifestyle. So in this exhibition in Venice, on the left we have the mapping looking into the real conditions, and on the right we have the prototype, what can be the future of architecture if we take this to an extreme. So in this case, on this building, each block would be an individual unit that one person could customize totally at their own will. Moving on to another project, this is PONTE 9 office. So by around the same time, we were designing our own office in Macau. So we looked into adaptation. This is something that if we walk through the streets in Macau, we see that people also do. They adapt their surroundings. And we picked up this step ladder as an object. So if you see adaptation, like in this building, this was not really working, so people started to adapt it to suit their needs. So we look also into the local material. We try always to work with local materials. In this case, it's a step ladder, a wooden step ladder. We are very close to Hong Kong, but Macau step ladders and Hong Kong step ladders end up being different and end up producing different results. So with this step ladder, we adapted the object for a bookshelf. Then several bookshelves together would create a wall. The ladder would also be transformed into a working table and into a meeting table. And if we put all these elements together, we end up with one office that can be adapted also in the future. So this is a space that is in permanent adaptation. We kept on changing the ladders. Now we have bigger ladders and more books. So this keeps on transforming. Moving on to the next project, we're talking about MACAU REFRAMED. This time, we're dealing with craftsmanship, with some materials like neon, wood, metal, stone, bamboo that we can find around Macau. So craftsmanship is something that still exists in Macau. We have sifus, we have masters that are amazing on their own trade. And in this case, you're seeing an image of a bamboo worker that is building a bamboo pavilion for up to 400 people next to Ama Temple. So we picked up on those materials, the neons, the wood, the metal, the stone, and the bamboo, and created a new project with this old material. So we created a wooden frame, then we created a dome to project content about these makers. So this is the result. It's MACAU REFRAMED. As you can see, we have the traditional wooden frame on the outside. We have the zinc and the metal inside on the dome. And this is called the city, its people, and their trade. So inside we show the craftsman people doing work in metal, in bamboo, in stone. We see the results of their work, the objects that they produce, and the impact of those objects on the city. And this is the frame that usually is hidden, and now we are bringing it up front. The fifth project is called REVOLVE. So this is a very old project, and this was presented at the Salon Satellite in Milan many years ago. So we are dealing with the local condition of flexibility, with multifunctionality. So, and we are using the material of construction materials, very simple construction materials. So flexibility. In Macau, you can see that space is limited, so people need to use the space for different functions. This is one of my favorite restaurants. Used to be, now is closed. And during the daytime was a restaurant, at nighttime was a motorcycle park. So it's something that people are used to transform according to the needs. So we picked up this material, a simple wooden board, and we created one object that is a sofa. The same object can be a bed, can be a table, and can be a bookshelf. If it's a sofa, it will create a living room. If it's a table, it will create a dining room or an office. If it's a bedroom, it will create, if it's a bed, it will create, of course, a bedroom. So this is the same object, but with 4 different positions. And this is Nuno testing this in Milan while I was a bit younger and still had some air left. Then the next one is portable loft. So the portable loft deals with impermanence. So in Macau, we have this problem of the rising prices for housing. So many people cannot buy, they need to rent because prices are always going up. So we thought about dealing with this in a creative way. So hoardings are temporary structures. They can be disassembled and then assembled elsewhere. So with hoardings, we created a portable loft. So a loft that can be assembled for some time, and after, when people move to another place, they can disassemble and assemble back in another area with the same or with a different shape. So this is the end result, the portable loft. Moving on, we have a building that we're invited to design the building envelope. And on this case, we're dealing with the idea of permeability and with the object of sliding gate. So in Macau, we are in a tropical place. It's important that we have visual and thermal permeability. So we have traditional dislouvers that control and that achieve different permeabilities towards the inside space. And we also have sliding gates. These metal sliding gates that are all around Macau in our commercial spaces. So we picked up this material and this concept of permeability and created a totally new envelope. So on the left you can see the existing building, and then on the right you can see the skin that we've created. And this is a permeable metal skin. So as we walk through it, the permeability level changes, so it modulates the relation between inside and outside, and always gives a dynamic view as you walk through the streets. The next project is the Grand Prix public toilet. This is a very recent project. So in Macau, another local condition that maybe it's quite unique to us is the car racing and also the rooftop houses as a material. So we have the Grand Prix, the Macau Grand Prix, for over 50 years running in our streets every year. So this is a condition that is intrinsical to Macau. It's almost on our blood. During that time, everyone runs a bit faster on their cars. So this is something that happens in Macau. So we picked up this condition, we picked up the material of the rooftop houses that are built on rooftops and are made of metal, and we created a new project. So on the left in red you can see the existing building, on the right you can see the metal canopy that we created to create better environmental conditions for that toilet. Then we decided to try to represent car speed, so we simulated that effect by how can we use this to show in architecture car speed. So this is the result. It's a metal canopy on top of the existing building, but that has this dynamic perforation showing the impression of speed. The next one is the green public toilet. So this was also a discovery for me. Walking through Macau, I've noticed many buildings that have spontaneous green. On small cracks, some plants will grow, and in some cases, some trees will grow, and they will take over a lot of importance over time. So we picked up also the planters as local material. So the spontaneous green is something like this. It's a beautiful plant that is growing. It was not planted, it just grew naturally, spontaneously on that building. And then you have planters, so people try to have their winter gardens. So this is also something quite traditional in Macau. So we picked up this concept, and on the left you see the existing public toilet. On the middle you can see our concept. The concept is, how can we turn this into a project? How can we create a building that is just full of planters? And how can we let green grow over time and really create a green toilet? So this was our proposal. What you're seeing is a simulation. This is going to start to be built very soon. This is like in the beginning. So in the beginning we start small, but as time grows, plants will grow and they will start to transform the shape of the building. So the building has a dynamic shape because the vegetation that is part of it will change over time. And then the last project is the Macau Catalyst. So this is, we start with a pavilion and we end up with a pavilion. This deals with this idea of connectivity, and it deals also with the material of publicity structure. So in the beginning we were looking just to Macau, but now 6 years later Macau is part of the Greater Bay. So what are the opportunities? What is this new territory? So this is what we're trying to show on this project. And we pick up the material, the metal frames of the publicity structure. So on the left you can see the grids, which is the network of cities on the Greater Bay, and then we transformed that into a folded map, and we created a pavilion. So we have the Greater Bay network, we have the pavilion framework made of publicity metal frames, and then on the right we have the final shape, the Macau Catalyst Pavilion. So this very strange shape shows very dynamic relations between different cities. And inside, in the different screens, you can see the same condition displayed in several cities. So the heritage in Macau, the heritage in Hong Kong, and in other cities around the Greater Bay Area. So these are some of the local conditions, some of the local materials that we have in Macau. This is my small contribution to celebrate this fantastic city where I live. So what are the local conditions? What are the interesting and inspiring local materials in your city? How can you make your city a better place? If I have a saying, I'll start by telling you that maybe local matters. Thank you. Thank you.